Hello, I'm Shaun Richards of Not a Yes Man's Economics, and welcome to the new year. In fact, for some, the new decade as well, depending on how you count it, something that doesn't start till 2021. One thing that has remained the same as we've clicked from one year to the next is that we're seeing monetary easing. For those that haven't followed this, China yesterday, the People's Bank of China, relaxed monetary policy. Not quite the interest rate cuts that we've got used to, 733 now, by the way, by my count, in the credit crunch era. But in fact, they do it on a different style. Something that's quite old-fashioned for us in the West, in my country, the UK. We abandoned this sort of thing about in the 1970s through to the 90s, depending exactly how you count it. What do I mean? Well, they're actually operating on the money supply, and in particular the broad money supply. So if you hear a phrase of reserve ratio cut, that's what they mean. So the banks have to keep less reserves, therefore they can lend more. That's relatively simple. Unfortunately though, life's more complex than a textbook example, because in this situation you would think a reduction of 0.5% to 12.5% in the reserve ratio would liberate a lot of lending, and doing the maths on that basis gets you to 800 billion yuan, or around about $114 billion. But life's more complicated than that, because there are a couple of factors. Firstly, really, that's the maximum. The banks have actually got to lend it. And then secondly, there's the issue of when they lend it. Now, no doubt, because this has happened, there's lending that will go on fairly quickly, but we don't really know that it will get anywhere near that sort of amount soon. And so that, in a nutshell, actually, is why the UK and Western countries abandoned that sort of policy. Those of you that follow the impact of interest rate moves might be having a wry laugh right now, because there have been issues over that. But at the time it was perceived that interest rates acted on the economy more quickly and in a more predictable fashion. Will someone borrow next week, next month, next year? In response to this, that's the problem. There's another potential hiccup that cuts across monetary policy in general these days, and this is that the People's Bank of China declared this as being for smaller and medium-sized businesses. They actually identified, I think, somewhere around 120 billion yuan for this. But you see, again, in the credit crunch, and in fact, to some extent before, because this started in Japan in the 1990s, central banks say this a lot. They love to say what they're doing is going to boost small business lending. And the reality is, certainly in Japan, that didn't happen. More recently, in my country, the UK, the Bank of England started that in around about 2012 with the Funding for Lending scheme. Guess what? Higher mortgage lending, more unsecured credit. So that's dubious. The next counterpoint to all of this is that we've been told the Chinese economy was doing better anyway. Now you can swing this two ways, because now we've had 8 reductions or easings of monetary policy in this vein from China. I suppose you could say that's working, but then if you do, why do you need another one? And so that's an issue here. It seems like that they don't really believe it. For the Chinese economy itself, if we look at the purchasing managing indices, which are private business survey, then they show the economy is growing. So the overall number's been over 53. Actually, even the production number for manufacturing was a bit over 53 as well, although the reading for that's 51. What does that mean? It means growth, but maybe not a lot. But then there's a catch here. If we look around the numbers in Europe this morning for manufacturing, they were quite weak. Same for the UK, actually. So there's an issue. And then there's another issue ticking along here, which is the bird flu epidemic in China. There's signs that that's spreading to Poland now. That's an issue that might play out. So welcome to the new year, same as the old year. Thank you.